Hey guys, what's up? Yo, welcome to the MIDCONVO podcast. In this episode, Ed, what are we talking about?
Today, we're talking about 5 questions freelancers often forget to ask their clients.
And you guys are going to walk away from these discovery calls with these potential clients with a little bit of swagger if you take notes on this episode. But hey, Ed, what do we do when we start an episode?
You know what it is. We go straight into it, but we got to roll that intro music.
We back. 2024 looks a little different.
I'm kind of like feeling nice because this is our first remote episode in a while.
Man, yeah, last episode on tax strategy, we were in the city of what?
Salt Lake City,
Yeah.
Utah.
Cranked out that episode, so go check that out.
Yeah, now Paul's back in Miami. I'm in Seattle. For those of you who are new here, you know that we operate this podcast with being on 2 opposite ends of the country. But we still got to bring in some heat for y'all, be able to help freelancers and creatives optimize their business. So the first thing in terms of 5 questions, what is the first area, Paul, we're going to go over?
The first is going to be importance. And I just want to be clear that when we were coming up with these questions collaboratively, me and Ed off the mic, let's just say that these questions took years and years and years for me to feel confident in asking and also to even be aware of. But the first one is asking the decision maker on a phone call or on a Zoom call or in person. Shout out to the in-person people. How important is this campaign to you? Or how important is this project to you? And Ed, why might this matter, this question?
Yeah, gauging their importance of what they're trying to achieve and how excited they are about it will definitely help you gauge what their level of commitment will be. Because honestly, if it's not important to them, there's a high chance, A, they're not going to put money behind it, but B, they're not going to want to take care of any of the process. They're going to want to dish it off to you, which, in certain ways, obviously you are providing a solution, but you want them to be involved. And if you can definitely tell that they're not, viewing it as an important thing to get done, it just might not go the way you want it to go. So that's a really, really important thing to ask.
Mm-hmm. I think where I've ran into this question before is asking a client for exactly what they're looking for and then getting an idea from prior research that, wow, their products are worth, they range from $500 to $1,000 per product, for example. And then when we talk about doing a full content campaign to advertise those products, they're pretty hesitant on price. So I might say, hey, how important is this project to you? Because if it's important, I want to make sure that I account for that in the scope and also in my bid or in the price that I give for what it's going to cost. So that's question number 1. Take note on that. How about question number 2?
Question number 2, the theme is timeline. Okay, this is something that honestly, when I was first starting out, I did not take as seriously because I'm like, oh, we just got to do this, whatever, we'll get it done when it gets done, or they'll get the content when they get the content. But being very upfront about the timeline and asking questions such as, when do you need this content finished by? And when would you like to get this started? Really nailing that in is going to be huge and setting the expectation for both yourself and for the client, right out the gate.
Yeah. And if you want to lose out on a client relationship for repeat business, don't deliver content on time. If you want to get ahead and increase your chances of them coming back to you, ask these questions. Hey, what's your timeline? Because I want to make sure that I deliver the content maybe a few days prior, depending on what day of the week it is. So then I can get your feedback, get those revisions over to you because you told me that this has to go live on this date. So this is a question that is often missed that I think will also help increase client experience.
Yeah. And I think too, with timeline, people don't realize, especially freelancers when you're first starting out, it can be a huge way to bring in more business and also a huge way to lose business. Me and Paul talk about this all the time off the mic, but turnaround time and speed of work is a huge factor that is being considered nowadays because we need content fast and we need content quickly, and so do the clients feel that as well. And so if you're dilly-dallying and you're not, getting them the revisions quickly, you're not getting them the timeline, you're not meeting that timeline that you set out for yourself, they're gonna drop you as a client. But also you're gonna miss out on opportunities because if you can perform on that speed front, they can bring you more business. And aside from quality, there's a lot of people that work with certain creators just purely for the fact that they are reliable and can turn around content quickly.
I've had projects where I will hire on an editor or hire on someone to tackle video. And if they miss timeline or deadlines and it messes things up for me, guess what? I can't work with them again, or I have to overly communicate the next time. So I think this is a very, very important one because like you said, Ed, a lot of the content we're creating, at least for me and Ed, is used for social, it's used for ads, it's used for product releases and so forth, where there's a company banking on you delivering it on time, okay? So you can't just ignore those emails and think you're all Gucci. And also, if you want to get paid on the back end, which most of us do kind of the deposit situation, you got to hit those timelines.
Yep. So we went over the first question. How important is this project to you and your business? Second question, when do you need this content by? Like turnaround, and what are your expectations on the timeline front? The third area of questions that we got to go into is pricing or pricing objections. What is a question that you need to ask, or even going one layer further, what is a question that you might get asked also by clients in this theme of pricing?
If you're the one that is on a call with a client or in a conversation with them and they ask you what it's going to cost and you reveal a price, I just want to say their response might be, whoa, hold up. We're used to paying a fraction of that. So what is your response? And one of my favorite responses to this question, I call it a client pricing objection response. I like to say, well, what are you used to paying? And they might say, you quoted us at $3,000. We're used to paying $1,000. Listen to this one. Why are you coming to me then if that person charged $1,000 and that fit your budget? My pricing is different. My process is different. The experience is going to be different. And I just want to let you know that that is a very valid question to ask, because you shouldn't be compared to someone else in the industry, because most likely they're coming to you because it didn't work out with that person, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I think that's a really valuable one that most people need to take note on, because it's easy to get super anxious and nervous and not know how to respond when money's brought up. But I just want to let you know, if you have your portfolio dialed, if you're confident what you offer and your process is there, stick to your guns and just say, hey, you're coming to me for a reason. It must not have worked out with that other person. This is the price. And just know that you might have to walk if it's not a good fit.
Dang, dropping some heat.
Yo, those are 3 out of the 5. We're just getting started.
We are. And the pricing too on that, I think you hit on it a little bit, but just stick to your guns and don't be so quick to discount your rates. Even if you ask the question, what are you used to paying? Once that number comes out, I think in the early stages, a lot of freelancers are quick to adjust their rate and be like, okay, well, we can make it work. And they'll just slash their prices like in half or even a quarter. And just, they think that it's going to be an act of good faith so that the client will, work with them more in the future. And to be honest, that's like a myth, because the thing is, when you over deliver on a lower rate, they are now accustomed to getting that type of quality at that rate. And so once you discount your services, it's very difficult to get to that initial price that you wanted to get. And then you will find yourself in this endless loop of just negotiating with this client, trying to inch your way towards your normal, like your baseline. So it's just super vital that you don't discount your rates. And, it's just like when you're shopping for anything, right? Like if you want cheap stuff, you're going to go to Dollar Tree. But you don't go into like a designer store or like some place that has expensive stuff and then be mad that they're not going to give discounts. People get it. Clients get it. Like they know that if you stick to your guns, you value your work, you value your process, and they're not going to continue to ask for discounts if you stick to your guns the first time.
I like that. Let's talk about real quick though, what happens if you want to meet them at their budget. One thing I recommend is, I've talked about this before and so has Ed, reduce the deliverables, don't discount the price. All right. So that's kind of my 2 cents on that. But fourth question, we're about to get into it. Ed, what is question number 4 that we came up with the top 5 questions that most freelancers straight up forget to ask?
I think the theme for this section, the fourth question, is the history or past experiences of the client. So for example, one question that I love to ask clients in terms of their past is, what has worked for you in the past and what hasn't worked for you in the past? And asking them to give me a little bit of a a crash course on their experience up until this call that we're on, or this touch point of what their experience with content has been.
I like that. I think with that, you can't be married to your process so much that it disrupts the way that you work with the client. Like, for example, if I'm working with the client and they're like, hey, we want to avoid this going into the next shoot. Well, guess what? 1 second, Ed. Can you go downstairs and I'll be right there? I'm on a quick call. Can you close the door behind you? I'll be right down. Thank you.
Guys, you have to let's just shout out Paul real quick, okay? He got 2 babies.
Come on.
And a pregnant wife, and he's still coming on the mic for y'all. Just for that reason alone. Take a quick second to drop that 5-star review right now, okay?
Come on.
Paul's doing it for us, and he's doing it for y'all.
We'll pick it up here. I think the do's and don'ts and what they've gone through that's worked and what hasn't is important, because most likely there are things that in past productions that they wish were different. And without you asking those things, you don't know. So that's one of my favorite things to ask, because maybe my client's like, yo, I wish we would have been able to see more previews throughout the shoot. Okay, well, maybe I need to tether the photo or video content. Or, hey, we wish we didn't waste the first hour of the shoot setting up lighting. All right, maybe we need to do like a pre-light the day before. So those are just a few examples, but I think this question is super valuable.
Very, yeah, just getting up to speed on what worked and what didn't work. You know, when you're buying anything, and the person who's trying to sell you on something is trying to explain to you, obviously, all the features and all the cool things, but really the best way to sell is figuring out the problems that they had in the past and the solutions that you're going to be now providing for those problems. You know, you can talk all day long about your process and what you do and what they do, but like you can save so much time in convincing if you just ask them what their problems simply were, and then just provide solutions to those problems. And then they're going to automatically see the value. Then you can just move on to the next part of the call.
There's just so many examples in my head where I've asked that question and the client's even been like, yo, last time there was no food. And I'm like, really? Who was in charge of catering? They're like, it was never communicated. So guess what? With that client, I said, hey, here's 3 websites that you can go to that will cater any production. And you go in there and you say how many people are showing up, when you need the food there, and if there's any dietary restrictions. And they're like, are you serious? So like, just ask those questions, provide a solution. I think you said that pretty well. The next question, and the last one that we came up with, is around distribution. And we're in such a fast-paced industry. If you're a freelancer that's creating content for ads, if you're a content creator that's creating content for TV, guess what? The distribution looks a lot different. One of my favorite questions to ask is, hey, how do you guys plan on using the content? What's the usage? And I just want to say right now that depending on who your clientele is, you might need to educate them on why you charge for usage and why you're asking. And then also on the other end, I'd say most big companies and agencies are almost expecting you to ask, hey, what is the usage for the content? Just so then you can account for that in your bid. But also it's nice to know going into a shoot, how the heck are we formatting this content? So you're going to want to make sure that these things are talked about beforehand, because otherwise, contract signed, you deliver the content, and it becomes extremely sticky to backtrack. But Ed, I'd love to hear your thoughts on this question, because I think this is a question that's newer, especially in the video industry, as brands are using content for paid ads and content's kind of popping up all over.
Yeah, for sure. I think traditionally, you know, before when I first started, distribution doesn't come up as much because they're like, we need this video, I shoot the video, horizontal, nothing else, deliver it, boom, we're done. But now with like you said, ads, vertical video, horizontal video, fast videos, long pace videos, they have likely a strategy in place on how they like to distribute it. But it's super important that you know what that strategy is and where it's going to go, because then you can tailor your content around that, and then you just sound more educated, to be honest. I mean, it's not about sugarcoating, but asking things such as, what is the distribution of this content? How do you plan to use it? Right then and there, as a client, they're going to think, oh, wow, this person really cares about the success of how this content performs. Right then and there, you've already separated yourself from most freelancers where all they care about is securing the bag and just getting the content done. Now you've separated yourself as a strategic partner, asking them questions such as where it's going. And it's so simple. Like, it's literally such a simple question, but clients will really see that you care, and that is going to be a huge way to also close them, once you get to that portion of the call.
Man, this question is important too. It bleeds into what you charge.
Yep.
Depending on the usage and licensing terms. It bleeds into the talent, because if you're booking a talent through an agency, guess what? They're going to want to know the usage. It also bleeds into the way you format and the way that you deliver the content. For example, if a client's like, yeah, we're going to be running these in a big paid ad campaign. Okay, cool. Do you have an ads manager that I can talk to while we work together? Because I want to know what has been the highest performing content in the past, because I want to take note of that in our shot list.
Mm-hmm.
Yo, this will make you look and stand out way different. Yes, there's going to be clients that you work with over time. For example, startups that might be like, dude, I don't know what you're talking about. Or they might just say you were using it for web. Okay, cool. But you want to make sure you get into those nitty-gritty details within usage and licensing, because it really does make a difference. Because the last thing you want is to give usage for social and web and be very loose on it. You don't include it in a contract. You're driving down the highway. You're in downtown Seattle like Ed is in his bougie car. And then bam, that content's on a billboard. What the heck? I thought we shook on it. I thought you said it was going to be used for social and web. So that's another aspect of why usage and licensing is important, is you deserve to be paid depending on how many people are seeing this, and also what marketing channel is being used on.
And I would imagine for those of you listening right now, as Paul just went into that, some questions you might think of in your head right now is, what do you charge for usage and licensing? Like, how do you actually up your rate and charge for the content and how it's being distributed? Like, how do you make more money if it's going to be seen on TV versus if it's just being used at, a mom and pop shop and it's going to be rotating on some TV at the store, right? Those are the questions that, obviously will come up, and we won't go into the weeds on this episode. But if that's something you do want to know about, because Paul does have a lot of experience with that, let us know in the comment section of this video or DM us on @MIDCONVO, and then maybe we can make an episode on usage and licensing.
Yo, if you're a YouTube listener and you're watching our episodes, drop it in the comments. Let's go.
YouTube, let's go. We just hit 1,000 subs on YouTube. Okay,
hey,
let's
come on, guys. We just kind of covered real quickly five questions that most freelancers forget to ask, and guess what? You won't forget about them anymore if you took notes on this episode. And maybe we scratched the surface on some of these questions, and you have more questions to ask in regards to, the distribution one, or maybe even the one that has to do with a pricing objection. Let us know, and we'll make sure to answer it offline. But we hope you found value from this. Ed, I think what's cool is our audience and the clients that we work with are brands, from startups all the way to national brands that we get to work through, often with agencies involved.
Mm-hmm.
But these questions come up time and time again, and it's best to start thinking about these. So then when you're on a call and you're trying to figure out, what the heck do I ask next in order to figure out where we're at with scope, where we're at with budget, don't bring it to email if you can. Ask it over Zoom or ask it in person if you're an in-person type of deal maker, because it's really going to make a difference. It's going to also make you stand out, and it's going to give them the confidence that you know what the heck you're talking about.
Yeah, for sure. And honestly, to recap as well, if you weren't taking notes, you want to look back at it later, in the show notes of this episode, we'll be sure to break it down and structure with the questions that you should ask for the 5 areas that we touched on in this episode. So make sure you check out the description of this video as well if you want a quick access of those questions.
Let's go. I hope you guys found value from this. Me and Ed are stoked about all the episodes to come. If there's a topic or there's something that you're going through in your business that you're looking for breakthrough in, and you're like, yo, it'd be cool if you guys talked more about this, let us know. But hey, this episode also, I just want to say, is influenced by an episode that we put out a while back called Asking the Right Questions, which we're also going to tag in the show notes. Because if you're like, yo, those 5 questions were fire, what are a few more? We did an entire episode on a few others that you can keep in mind.
Yep. So hopefully everyone enjoyed this episode. It was short and sweet. You know how it is. We don't try to put this episode a bunch of fluff. We get straight to the point. Hopefully it was a good, quick listen, and we'll see y'all in the next episode.
Oh yeah. See you guys.